Let's get right into it. Number 5. The day the sun fell. At 8:15 in the morning, people in Hiroshima were doing extremely normal things, eating breakfast, walking to work, probably complaining about something small and fixable. Then the sky turned into a camera flash designed by Satan. One second you're a human with errands, the next second shadows of humans are permanently printed onto concrete like the world's darkest Polaroid. The bomb, politely named Little Boy, because humans love giving nightmare weapons adorable nicknames, exploded with the energy of about 15,000 tons of TNT. Buildings evaporated, skin burned from blocks away. Windows shattered so hard they basically became airborne knives, and because physics wasn't done being cruel, a firestorm formed afterward, sucking oxygen toward the blast like the atmosphere itself was panicking. Here's the part your brain struggles with. Many people didn't even understand what had happened. There was no warning siren that meant sun explosion incoming, just a flash, heat beyond imagination, and then silence broken by everything burning at once. Radiation came next, invisible, odorous, basically the world's worst surprise subscription. People who survived the blast began getting sick days later, as their own cells quietly fell apart. Your body, which normally tries very hard not to die, suddenly had no idea what rulebook it was operating under. What makes this moment especially terrifying isn't just the destruction, it's how fast normal life turned into apocalypse. No dramatic buildup, no villain speech, just a single decision, a button press, and an entire city entered nightmare mode before most people finished their morning tea. Basically, humanity figured out how to weaponize the sun, and immediately used it on itself. Number 4. The reactor that didn't want to live. If you've ever ignored a weird noise in your house because it's probably fine, congratulations, you already understand the opening chapter of Chernobyl nuclear power plant. In 1986, engineers decided to run a safety test, which is comforting, except the test involved deliberately turning off safety systems. That's like testing your car's brakes by cutting the brake lines and flooring it downhill. What could go wrong? Everything could go wrong. The reactor became unstable. Operators tried to fix it. The design itself said, "No thanks," and surged harder. Then came 2 explosions that blew a 1,000-ton lid off the reactor like it was opening a soda can from hell. Graphite blocks, super radioactive, rained onto the roof. Workers walked through them not realizing they were basically strolling across invisible death Legos. Firefighters arrived thinking it was a normal electrical fire. Some picked up glowing debris with bare hands because it looked interesting. That interesting rock was busy rewriting their DNA. Meanwhile, a radioactive cloud drifted across Europe like a toxic weather system nobody ordered. Entire towns were evacuated days later, leaving behind toys, food, pets. A frozen snapshot of life interrupted mid-sentence. The creepiest part? Radiation doesn't feel like anything. No smell, no immediate pain. Your body just quietly starts losing the argument at a cellular level while you're standing there thinking, weird fire. In the end, the disaster didn't just melt a reactor, it melted trust in the idea that humans are fully in control of their own inventions. Turns out when you split atoms, they don't care about your paperwork. Basically, we built a machine powered by the fundamental forces of the universe and then ran it like a group project nobody wanted to manage. Number 3. The sky that wanted blood. Picture this, June 30th, 1908, early morning in the quiet forests near the Tunguska River. Reindeer grazing, trees minding their business, humans existing peacefully for once. Then the sky exploded. Not metaphorically, literally. An object, likely a space rock about 50 to 60 meters wide, entered Earth's atmosphere at hypersonic speed. Friction heated it up, pressure built, and instead of politely landing like a normal meteorite, it detonated mid-air with the force of up to 15 megatons of TNT. That's roughly 1,000 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Trees were flattened across 2,000 square kilometers, 80 million of them, laid out like someone had just karate chopped the forest in a perfect radial pattern. People hundreds of kilometers away were thrown off their feet. Windows shattered. The sky glowed at night across Europe for days because the upper atmosphere was basically having a luminous breakdown. Here's the unsettling part. If that explosion had happened 4 hours later, Earth's rotation would have positioned a major city under it. No dramatic alien invasion. No movie soundtrack. Just space decided today was your day. Your brain doesn't like this story because it means something terrifyingly simple. Sometimes the universe doesn't need politics, war, or bad decisions to end you. Sometimes a rock shows up uninvited. And the best part? We didn't even know what caused it at first. No crater, no obvious debris, just flattened forest and cosmic confusion. For decades, people debated aliens, antimatter, divine punishment, basically everything except giant space pebble had a tantrum. The Tunguska event is the universe reminding humanity that we live in a cosmic shooting gallery. We're not the main character. We're just standing in the open, hoping space misses. Which, historically speaking, it usually does. Usually. Number 2. The plague that rewrote civilization. Imagine waking up with a mild fever. No big deal. Maybe you ate something weird. Then your lymph nodes swell into painful blackened lumps the size of eggs. Your skin darkens. Your body gives up faster than your Wi-Fi during a storm. Welcome to the 14th century and the absolute nightmare known as the Black Death. This wasn't just a bad flu season. This was a bacterial rampage caused by Yersinia pestis, hitching rides on fleas that lived on rats. Trade routes helped it spread across Europe, Asia, and North Africa like the world's worst delivery service. Within a few years, an estimated 25 to 50 million people in Europe alone were dead. That's up to half the population. Half. Entire villages vanished. Fields went unharvested. Mass graves became normal. People genuinely believed the apocalypse had clocked in for work. Some thought it was divine punishment. Others blamed minorities, because when humans are scared, we don't just panic, we panic with enthusiasm. The psychological impact was just as destructive as the disease. Social order cracked. Labor shortages shifted power from nobles to workers. Religious authority was questioned because, apparently, prayer wasn't antibacterial. And here's the uncomfortable truth. This wasn't some ancient, primitive world. These were people just like you, with families, routines, inside jokes who suddenly found themselves living in a civilization-wide horror film without an exit. The Black Death didn't just kill millions. It reshaped economies, accelerated the end of feudalism, and arguably paved the way for the Renaissance. It was tragedy on a scale so massive that it literally rearranged history. Basically, a bacterium smaller than a grain of sand forced humanity to reinvent itself. Your species, 0. Fleas, 1. Number 1. 13 days from nothing. In October 1962, the entire planet unknowingly auditioned for extinction. The reason? Someone discovered that the Soviet Union had parked nuclear missiles in Cuba, which, inconveniently, is extremely close to United States. Close as in 5-minute flight time if you're a thermonuclear warhead with commitment issues. President John F. Kennedy went on television looking calm in the way people do when they absolutely are not calm. Across the ocean, Nikita Khrushchev was also pretending everything was fine while holding the geopolitical equivalent of a lit match over gasoline. Here's why this moment is arguably humanity's most dangerous ever. Both sides had enough nuclear weapons to end civilization multiple times. Not bad war, not lots of casualties. We're talking cities erased, global firestorms, nuclear winter, agriculture collapse, basically Earth becoming a very quiet rock with excellent parking availability. For 13 days, military forces prepared for the possibility that today might be the last normal day anyone ever has. Submarines carrying nuclear torpedoes were cornered underwater. Bombers sat on runways fully armed. Radar operators watched screens like they were staring into the future's obituary. At one point, a Soviet submarine commander nearly launched a nuclear torpedo because he believed war had already started. The only reason he didn't? Another officer on board said, essentially, maybe let's not end the world today. Congratulations, humanity survived because one exhausted guy decided to be reasonable for 5 minutes. Eventually, letters were exchanged, deals were made, missiles were removed, and everyone collectively pretended this was just another tense week. Meanwhile, the human race had come closer to self-deletion than at any point before or since. No aliens, no asteroids, no supervillain, just politics, fear, and a lot of very powerful buttons nobody should ever have built. Basically, civilization survived because a handful of people chose not to panic simultaneously, which might be the most fragile safety system imaginable. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.